Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We are your hosts, DJ Kings and Tim, and we are here letting you know that you are currently tuned into Relax Radio. And this right show here is The Buzz, where we do everything entrepreneurship, everything business, everything technology, and everything finance. So, ladies and gentlemen, sit back, relax, keep your ears peeled, get yourself a nice little cup of tea, and stay tuned for how we're going to tell you to keep your money up and your problems low.
Absolutely. We're talking with regards to obviously the trending conversation that was breaking the internet over the last couple of days. I mean, it will be for the next couple of weeks and years to come as well. It's been a milestone that we've basically come across in terms of experiencing, just like I'd say our parents experience people, Neil Armstrong setting foot on the moon. This
Yeah.
is a new milestone that will only, be able to tell the next generation if they haven't experienced it. Now, to come to the story of how, you know, to come to the story of how, when we're breaking down the story of this guy, legend,
Yeah.
entrepreneur, innovator, he's not basically just stuck to one thing. He's, I one of my what would I say? One of my previous employers
Yeah.
he went to South Africa. He went to one of the Virgin hotels, and so Richard happened to be there as well that day or that night, and so getting an insight of what the guy is like in person. He's very down to earth. He's very humble and very adventurous. There's this one story where I heard that he was basically uh, when they were supposed to go on a safari, right?
Yeah.
He had
Yeah.
asked the guides to kind of get out of the vehicle and get something off the road or something of that sort. And so he's in his years, he was obviously in his late 60s or mid 60s here. He's 70 now, but these guides are not supposed to set a foot out of the vehicle, right? When you're on a safari, it's like protocol. You just can't. Um, you know, and the minute the guide got out, this guy took the jeep and scrambled with the vehicle. And now this, so to imagine the guy being 60 odd years old,
Yeah.
billionaire, basically running multiple businesses in multiple industries across the
Yeah.
world over decades. The guy is basically he's still young at heart, you can see. And I also read a part of his book the book that goes in the lines of losing your virginity, right?
Yeah.
um, he was always daring. He was always motivated by his family to push his limits or challenge himself. And there was this one time where he was his family has always been very adventurous. His mom, his dad have always been very encouraging and supportive. Also very, I'd say, not limiting him in terms of his beliefs or where he could actually go or what he could do. There was this one time I read about how he was dared to swim up a stream, and for about a 12 pound or 12 cents or something of that sort. And
To swim
he
up the
actually did it.
stream.
Yeah, for some reason I just read this in a part of his book a while back. And so this guy
Wow.
is basically, you see, if you just check out pictures of him, you're gonna find out what he does is adventure sports with this at this age, right? And
Yeah.
he's super fit. And yeah, I mean, the guy is basically killing it in terms of breaking the internet or breaking borders.
Yeah.
um this is none other than Richard Branson. Now, to talk about when he was born. He was born in 1950. He'll be 71 this year, on the 18th. Yeah. And
He looks good for his age, though. I will not lie.
yeah,
He looks
man,
very good for his age.
absolutely. After I mean, I was watching the live stream, obviously, and after it's after you land that you actually get, let's say, promoted, or you get recognized as an astronaut, right?
Ah,
So
yeah.
I think technically you are an astronaut by the time you leave, but with all
Mm,
these tests, with all these studies that you need to be aware of,
mm,
emergency protocols or whatever. These guys, so the four astronauts, that the three others that went along with him, got their
yeah.
badges and
Yeah.
to be recognized as an astronaut. And the even that badge that they have designed, there's a whole story behind it in terms of the design. It's the sycamore tree that basically, it takes ages to rise to a certain point,
Mm,
and it's super inspirational. I was honestly, I love the way they narrated it and the way they put it out, because of the thought they put into it, into the story as well. So
yeah.
it starts off with how the sycamore tree, or the plant, it basically, it takes a while to grow, right? So once
Yeah.
it gets to a certain point, the way it repollinates, or the way the seeds, more
Mm,
trees grow, is
yeah.
from a flower or a bud, that basically breaks off the branch, and then it flies to another location, and then it plants from there.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, so to basically relate this whole going into space period,
Yeah.
is that going into space as a commercial service, and this whole story, what they started off on Saturday, they are relating this story to the sycamore tree, and they're talking
Mm,
about, even if you look at the message, that even if you listen to the message, he said, the minute he was in space, he was talking about how any young dreamer should look at this moment and only think of how he, for one, was very young, and he
mm,
used to only imagine looking at the stars and wondering what it was like. But now,
yeah.
at 70 years old, he was in his own spaceship with a couple of other astronauts, and just to
Yeah.
imagine that, if you can put your head into something, just to imagine what you can do. Amazing inspiration. And he only feels like he wants to be the sycamore tree, the first sycamore tree in this instant. Now, I think
Yeah.
it's beautifully narrated, and the campaign was marketed in a I don't know, touching way. I mean,
Mm,
I yes, alongside Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, Elon Musk had gone to his house earlier that day and celebrated the milestone. But
yeah.
yeah, just I think what we're gonna do is just break it down in the lines of what his story is, who he is, and how he's come to this point.
Indeed. Looking at all the articles that we have gone over, Richard Branson, as you can see, he is, well, the man's a very rich individual. He's made so much for himself over the years with Virgin, and he's just a very successful entrepreneur. He was born Richard Charles Nicholas Branson on 18th of July 1950. As you can see, his birthday is coming up in about 5 or so days. So, looking at who he is, he's a risk taker as well as a businessman.
Yeah.
His mother was an entrepreneur, and his family always supported him in all of his endeavors, including remortgaging their house in 1971 to help pay off some of his business debts. Like, that's a huge risk. Like, that's
Yeah, man.
insane, absolutely insane. Like,
That's
imagine,
putting it all on the line, right?
yeah, putting your whole family on the line. Like, come on. Because imagine
That's
had that
some
gone
belief
left.
to have there. And like I
Yeah.
said, I think we spoke about this last week, but when it comes to how you break down the
Mm,
story of the financer, the story of
mm,
uh, when the and he basically flew the first Virgin Airlines plane. The
mm,
next day, the bank had come to his house and said that it's not looking good on paper, and they asked him to actually pull out of the project. And he had just turned a cold shoulder towards what whoever had said, and continued to go ahead. And if he
mm.
actually listened, there wouldn't be Virgin Airlines as well.
Yeah, exactly. So it's crazy to think that how some of these risks that he had actually taken, which pretty much could put other people in some serious danger, has led to him becoming the very successful, very strong-minded businessman that he is today with Virgin Atlantic. and now Virgin Galactic, as he is soon going to be taking off into space. As in, like, this is some very huge, groundbreaking milestones that he is making. He's gaining so much coverage, like covering so much ground for Virgin himself. I'm pretty sure he has his own island, doesn't he?
Yeah, the Virgin Islands.
Okay, like how rich do you have to be to have your own island? Like, imagine that.
Yeah, this
Um,
dude is basically, I mean, islands, like, yeah, man,
he's
that's.
just he's living and loving life. Let's just put it
Mm,
that way. Here's another thing. Looking through his whole portfolio of who he is as a person, as it says that he's a risk taker and everything like that. He started his first business, a magazine called Student, when he was only 16 years old. And shortly after, in 1970, he started his second business, which was a company that delivered music records to subscribers. So, as you can see, he has been a pretty big risk taker since a young age. I mean, I don't know, maybe when I was 16, I was just concerned about enjoying cartoons. So you can see
absolutely.
there's a very big difference in how his calling came to him a lot earlier, and he was showing signs of being able to achieve that calling. And well, as you can see, it's paid dividends for him now. So
Yeah, for
um,
sure.
this particular endeavor managed to set a path for him for the rest of his career in music production and retail. And in 1972, he opened a chain of record stores, which would later renamed as Virgin Records, which is now a global retail music chain and producer. So you can see that from small beginnings to very large outcomes, he's managed to grow Virgin Records into something absolutely huge, not just as a music chain, but also as a producer. So another thing we've understood is that Branson has a very big love for technology and air and space travel, as we can see in his brand. So
Now,
yeah,
yeah, I mean, this project actually started around 12 years ago, right? Galactic.
I believe so. Yes, yes. It started around 12 years ago, but looking into it, it expands into aeronautics. Firstly, as an airline in 1984, as Virgin Atlantic Airways, and then into space tourism in 2004 with Virgin Galactic.
Mm.
So, in partnership with Microsoft, Branson expects to take paying passengers into suborbital space for the cost of, and be ready. I'm pretty sure we've mentioned this a couple shows back, but $250,000 by the end of 2017.
Yeah, and right now there's a waiting list of around 700 people for this.
How on earth, where on earth do 700 people get $250,000 from?
Each,
We're
right?
talking, we're talking
Yeah, I mean,
about $250,000 that are paying how many different mortgages? 700 people. That's 700 homes.
yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, you're talking about celebrities, right? To start off with, it's
Yeah.
always, like I said, it's always expensive at the first. It People are going to travel. People are going to do this trip just for the sake of saying that they did it as well. And you
Mm,
hear people like that obviously genuinely want to experience this as well. You have people
mm,
like Ariana Grande, you have Leonardo DiCaprio. There's
yeah.
quite a bit of people that have actually signed up for this, and I think it's pretty cool. It's definitely going to be the next hit if they start covering all these trips.
Mm,
If they start, broadcasting different people's experiences or reactions to, because basically the mothership, they call it mothership, right? So it takes you to a certain height,
mm,
and they release the center spacecraft,
yeah.
and it's so I just watched a ton of videos on this, right? And I'm
Mm,
just talking about what these people have been saying, what the experience is like. So
mm,
when you get to that point, you're gonna get dropped, and then it's like it's also scary as exciting as it is, because being at that height, it's basically it's more than airplane
yeah.
usual 30,000 feet,
Yeah.
and imagine dropping all out of nowhere. That's scary at the same time, right? But afterwards, you have the rocket booster turning on, and they fire you all the way up into straight up, right?
Mm,
This goes on for a whole minute, and then yeah, by that time you're in space. So uh,
absolutely crazy.
yeah, they rotate the ship a couple of times
Yeah.
around, and they let you know when you can unstrap, when you have to restrap again. The pilot's always strapped in, on it. There's no autopilot or anything of that sort yet. But yeah, I mean, to have the windows on the ceiling as well, I think it's super cool. I think it's, I don't know,
Yeah,
it's,
you get to
I
see
definitely want to
everything.
do this someday.
Yes, if you're able to get hold of mortgage money, then yeah, sure.
let's
Yeah,
let's hope it doesn't. Let's hope by then it doesn't take as a big bang on the
a bang for
bank.
your buck.
Yeah, but because I mean, the people that can afford these definitely have a net worth of at least tens of millions of dollars or pounds or
Oh,
whatever. So
100%.
yeah, so
Of
this is
course.
yeah, the market basically spending on this doesn't feel like this is any significant cost to them because yeah, it's just not practical if not to spend 250k,
Mm,
250 yeah, k on a space trip that'll last you about an hour. But
mm.
yeah, I mean, man, I honestly can't wait. Let's say we're talking about a weight of 700 people, and then eventually comes to about $40,000. So yeah, I mean, I'm super excited to see where this takes people and space travel as a whole.
I'm sorry, I'm still shocked at 700 people because where on earth do 700 people get $250,000 from? These are actually so many homes that can actually just be made or bought. So, like, where on earth do they get that money? But not even that. Just to even also, I just wanted to quickly add on to that was what's it with the 250,000 and the 700 people that are on this waiting list. It's actually quite insane because I know we definitely mentioned about how millionaires are being made pretty much every month now. Like
Mm.
every month we hear about 10 new millionaires that have joined the list, or every month we hear about somebody else has reached a new milestone, someone's achieved a new net worth, like it's
Yeah.
quite crazy to me. It's quite crazy to me. So achieving this 250 crowns is like, it's literally just the smallest hit against their accounts. It's like, oh, no, that's all right. 250k, that's all. Yep, let's go. That's mama, 700 people on a waiting list with that much money. Oh my goodness. My
Yeah, and
word.
I mean, you're talking about an experience of a lifetime, right? Like this
Yeah.
kind of thing. It's not like traveling to, I'd say, Bali or Maldives or anything of
Yeah.
that sort. You're basically going into space, and this is only the beginning, right? This
Yeah.
is basically only the start of um I'm just thinking now, this is just a couple of hours, but then eventually the hours are going to get extended. People
Yeah.
are going to have probably come to a point where they have parties up there and then
Mm.
come back down. I don't know, man. I'm just thinking, this is going to be amazing. This is basically the birth of a whole different adventure
Mm.
experience.
Used to say that the way it's looking right now, that Earth doesn't, like, with all of what's going on right now, Virgin Galactic, even SpaceX with Elon Musk, and even Jeff Bezos, who's looking to fly up as well, that we don't manage to change maybe possibly the moon or even Mars into a second harboring planet for life. You
Absolutely.
know, having parties up there, maybe we can't have parties the way we'd usually would do, like, just as normal human beings, but maybe up there we have parties with spacesuits on and stuff, like, imagine getting drunk in space.
Yeah, man. Some Rick and Morty stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll be right back, breaking down how he dropped out of school when he was 16 years
Mm,
old. Talking about his creative Virgin Records, like you said, coming into the entrepreneurial projects,
mm,
going into the music industry, expanding to so many sectors. We're talking in space tourism,
mm,
Virgin Galactic. Yeah, also known for his sporting achievements or his adventurous, his spirit, right? And
yeah.
yeah, so what he's also fond of doing, things like hot air ballooning,
Mm,
wakeboarding, things like that.
mm,
We'll
mm.
be breaking it down further into this, so stay tuned on the buzz. This is Kings and Tim. We're talking about Richard Branson, the legend, basically, and
The
yeah,
living
if
legend, that
you
is.
yeah, stay tuned right here. Don't miss a beat. We'll be right back after these videos. Good afternoon.
The valuations that you place on an asset are always behind you. It's always in hindsight. It's never in front of you. And that's one of the challenges, right? Because you're always valuing what happened yesterday. And what you need is what's going to happen tomorrow. What am I saving or investing for? Why am I doing it? When will I need the money? And how much money do I need? Yeah. So that's quite important, because when you're looking at your net worth, you got to start with saying, well, what do I want my net worth to be, so that there's a goal, and then work backwards. How do I get there? And if I can start with £50 or $50 a week, if I save that every week, and you can go online and use calculators online. I don't have to teach you the maths behind it, but you can say, okay, and if I get a 3% return and I put this away for how long will it take to reach my goal? And that's called just this basic cash flow projection calculations. And it's what we use in financial planning all the time. What we say to clients is we say, okay, what is your goal? What is your objective? Where do you want to go to? And we discuss that in a lot of detail and over most of the meeting. And then the rest of it is saying, okay, in your exact circumstances, with your risk profile, with how you feel about investments and pensions and taxes and where you are and who you work with, and your education level or your lack of education or how involved you want to be. There's a lot of variables that we take into account, and then we say, okay, here's a plan. You start like this, that's great. And then we review it all the time. And we say, okay, we need to increase it, we're on track, we're not, this is what is happening. Because remember, when you're dealing with assets, the valuations that you place on an asset are always behind you. It's always in hindsight. It's never in front of you. And that's one of the challenges, right? Because you're always valuing what happened yesterday. And what you need is what's going to happen tomorrow. So that's a struggle. Yeah. So there are strategies everywhere from £50 a week up to £100 million, and they're different, right? They range differently from everyone, but and from country to country, to be fair. Different countries have different tax laws, so different vehicles. But from your point of view, at the sort of normal end, I'm not going to call it the low end because I'm in that boat as well. It's as tax efficient as you can get it. That's where you start. You use all the tax efficiencies, and then you step up into different things.
again. But now, if you say to a child, if I went up to a child and said, you've had one to forget, God, there'd be an inquest. Me, why did you reject my son? Oh, I haven't rejected your son.
I want to talk about, how the generation gap, how much has changed, especially when you check the youth nowadays in comparison, to people back in the day.
I'd say when I was younger, it was more disciplined. Not now.
In comparison to now.
Not at all. Not now. The way things are nowadays, the younger generation, you seem that they can't accept the word no. If that makes sense. They can't
accept rejection, essentially, is all you're trying to say.
Yeah, they can't accept the word no. So if you how did I do? Or you didn't do very well, they get upset. And when I was a youngster, my father used to say to me, because I used to be sport mad when I was very young, well, I still am sport mad, but like participating in different sports. And if I had a bad game, for example, he'd say to me, you had one to forget.
That's it. Your dad sounds like a smart guy. I mean, yeah, that's the real fact of the matter, yeah.
He'd say to me, you had one to forget. Get over it. And that was it. So I dust myself down and do it again. But now, if you say to a child, if I went up to a child and said, you've had one to forget, God, there'd be an inquest. An inquest. Me, why did you reject my son? Oh, I haven't rejected your son. or daughter. I've just told them that they need to buck their ideas up.
That's the truth right there. I mean, if you think about it, if you check the generations, like right now in the US as well, I've seen a lot of these things as well. In the UK, you get medals for participation. But what's the point? What are you trying to? Yeah, what's the point? Either you win or you lose. People are so afraid to put that whole notion of losing. When it comes to right now, the generation gap is just crazy. How much a lot has changed. Social media has taken control of our lives, and we don't even realize it anymore. We're crippled because of it.
That's absolutely right, Nick. Because as you said, nowadays it seems that you get rewarded for failure. For the life of me, Nick, I can't get my head around that. Perhaps I'm just getting old and morbid, I don't know. I just can't get my head around how you could be rewarded for failure.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back from the break. You are still tuned into The Buzz, where we talk about finance, entrepreneurship, technology, and most importantly, businesses. So ladies and gentlemen, sit back, relax, and keep those ears peeled on how we're about to give you the latest buzz of today.
That's right. So talking, coming just right back into the topic, Richard Branson, 70 years old, he's basically had... he's had a ton of experience as, the employee. He's had a ton of experience from the employee side, which is probably why, he is one of the most, employee-centric, I'd say, leaders. And, having worked as a, flight attendant, having worked as a bar, what's the word? He's worked at a bar as well, and then he's had trouble with his dyslexia, which has also challenged his studies. Barrister, right? That's the word. And coming out,
a barista.
Yeah, and basically transferred to Stowe School. He's had I wouldn't say the easiest life when growing up, but while struggling, the guy basically had a 16 when he was 16, at least, he started off with youth culture magazine, his youth culture magazine called The Student. And the publication ran by students. It sold about $8,000 of advertising in its first edition. This was launched in 1966. 16 years old and driving in $8,000 back in the day. This is in 1966. What's it take?
I mean, I think that's flipping insane. You're 16 years old, you're bringing in $8,000.
16 years old, man. This is this.
16.
See, yeah, it's. I'd say it's. I saw this. I actually watched this video again that Steve Harvey talks about how you have a bee, right? You have a bee that basically, if it jumps, it can jump up to around 30 odd feet. But if you put the bee in, a bottle, it's basically going to limit how high it jumps. It's eventually gonna, it's gonna keep jumping and hitting the top of the lid, but
Yeah.
eventually it's gonna stop, going as hard because that's its limitation.
Yeah.
This story just reminds me of that, and apart from that, if that bee has multiple, I'd say new babies, right? For example, they are only going to see how much the older bee is doing, in terms of height or in terms of physical impact against the glass bottle, and that's all that they're going to do. So just like that, you actually you don't really know your limits till you test them. Now any 16-year-old could easily tell themselves, look, my friends are not doing this, why should I be taking any risk like this and trying to make money? But then this guy, I think his dyslexia has worked to his benefit in a certain way, because he's not been in school, and the way he's basically challenged himself. And these are the people that actually, even at the end of the day, don't really care about what other people are doing or what other people think of them, but they eventually start something, take a couple of risks, and get stuff done. So
There we go. Yeah.
So just like us, I think it applies to whichever age you are. Now, the first run, 50,000 copies, was disseminated for free. Richard Branson basically covered the cost through advertising eventually down the line. And so to come into just with that article link, he talks about how by 1969 he was living in London commute, and then he was surrounded by a ton of British music, and then also some of the drug scene, right? Now with this, he started to get his mail order record company called Virgin to help fund his magazine efforts. And the company performed modestly, but then coming out to his business venture, recording recording his work when it comes to Oxford Street and then in London. This was basically with the success of his new store, right? Now, for a high school dropout to start recording, to start generating around $8,000 in revenue at the age of 16, and then coming into building up a recording studio in 1972. This is in England, right, in Oxfordshire. Virgin Records was born, and what Virgin Records did was, with Tubular Bells, that was in 1973. This was recorded. Quite a few hits basically came out of this studio, and I mean, so you can see he started with media. He started with print, and then he went on to music, went on to audio, and we start seeing a bit of a shift in terms of his business journey, a bit of an expansion when the Virgin Voyager Group travel company was born in 1980. Now, Virgin Atlantic Airline was born in 1984, and you have Virgin Megastones. These are a ton of companies that is opened, all under the same brand. So you can see a marketing, I'd say, a domino effect here with, once he builds his name up in a certain location, it's just a matter of, I'd say, leveraging the recognition of that name to convince, if you have a couple of happy customers, you're definitely going to convince the same customers, or if not more customers, on, the legitimacy of it. So like I said, you're talking about Virgin and how they suddenly, their success has not always been predictable. Like
Hmm.
when I talk about in 1992,
Yeah.
Virgin was struggling to be they were basically what's the word, they were not as successful as they were before. They were struggling to keep the company afloat, and
Hmm.
they had to sell the company to Thorn EMI for $1 billion. Now
Hmm.
it's you can see that although majority of the stories of entrepreneurs or businessmen, although it's just the success stories, you have even if it is business women, you have the positives that are properly broadcasted or concentrated on, but the failures are not concentrated on as much, which is
Yeah.
what people need to understand is if they want to get to that point, um they want to get to that point, they need to understand that it's a lot of risk taking, it's a lot of um uh, also it's a lot of failure as well, right?
Yeah, of course, of course. Whenever it comes to success stories, not everybody's going to have just, have succeeded in everything. One thing that I feel like people seem to mistake whenever it comes to, success or how people have reached the point that they have reached is the fact that they have most likely undergone or foregone so many different losses within their path reaching to success. One thing I feel as though a lot of people don't understand whenever it comes to failure, including myself at times, is that failure is literally just it's literally just preparing you to succeed. You know, failure is literally just, it's
Mhm.
only temporary. It won't last forever. Failure is literally just like a temporary hit to let you know that your time to succeed is coming. It's preparing you for your success. So one thing I know that people really need to understand whenever it comes to people like Richard Branson or so many different heads that have become such huge figures in the public eye are that people failed. People genuinely failed in order to be able to achieve their dreams. They failed at first, and they failed so many times, and they continue to try and try and try again until they finally found the result. And when they found that result, their success is the only thing that would have ever gotten spoken about, because that's the biggest thing to remember. Not a lot of people remember the failures that it took for you to get to where you are, except you, you know?
Yeah. Now,
So, yeah.
now to add to what you said, right? We're talking about how with his sporting achievements, or even Dwayne Johnson for one. We
Mm.
actually have a comment here directed towards you. Someone with
Ah,
a name, someone named James Seinfeld.
ah, out.
Just gonna pop it up there. Not sure when exactly what this
I
is
mean,
about, but
I can't. The thing is, whenever it comes to money is the biggest factor. Like money, especially whenever it comes down to finances, technology, and everything in between. Money is the main thing that you need to be concerned about. So, really and truly, um, you know, it's what helps fuel the business. Now, if we're talking in the standpoint of people with 250K to be able to fly into space, no, I can't let that go. And I'm very sorry, because that is a whole household. That is literally a
yeah,
whole household we're talking about, man. That's
yeah,
250K.
exactly. This is some people. Some people don't see this number, this value in a whole year, or
Yeah,
for their lifetime. Like they just don't come to this point in terms of net worth. So, I
exactly.
mean, I it's not impossible to get to that point, but
Of
yeah,
course not.
it's just that it is pretty significant. And
Yeah,
I mean, to come to the point of they've invested billions of dollars into this operation, into the R&D and things like that,
indeed.
and
Yeah.
yeah, just to still come to the point of where they are, it's I'd say pretty amazing.
Indeed, indeed. But nonetheless, I mean, if I, yeah, just so I can reiterate again, I'll just make sure to keep it backed up. I mean, 250K isn't small money that comes out of thin air. So it is indeed something that definitely shocks me. So yes, I can't let that money issue go. I'm very sorry. I can't let it go because that's huge. It's huge, you know? And let's not forget
Yeah.
700 people. Nah, man. Nah. That's it's insane. Personally, it's just insane. So yeah. But
Yeah.
nonetheless, yeah.
So to come back to Richie's story, Richard's
Mm,
story, the Virgin Group, by the time they hit 70, they by the time they hit 70,000 employees, they had 35 countries under their umbrella,
yeah.
and these were handling affairs in UK, US, Aussie, Canada, Asia, Europe.
Mm,
You know, to I'd say come to this point,
indeed,
considering
yeah.
the fact that Richard was, as adventurous as he is, and I'd say daring as he is, I'm pretty sure they've lost a ton of money and on multiple ventures that they started on. But coming to expanding their businesses into a train company, a luxury grain preserve, mobile phone company, and now space tourism. I mean, would you ever have thought that this would be where he would be when he had dropped out of college or high school when he was 16 years old because he
Mm.
was dyslexic?
No, I mean, to be honest, I feel like if you were to tell anybody else this story, or if anyone that was there with him living it, I could guarantee quite a few of them couldn't even, like, there would be quite a lot of them saying they would have never expected him to become this multi-millionaire or billion pound entrepreneur that owns a business that's global, and then not to mention
Absolutely.
even now he's thinking of taking space tourism. I doubt a lot of people saw this except his own family who had all of that belief in him from the start.
See, now to add to what you're saying,
Mm,
I don't know if you remember, but I think we did talk about this on the buzz as well, and
mm.
how Elon Musk himself is dyslexic as well,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
I remember.
Yeah, it's funny how the world, in majority look at people like this, and if
Hmm.
they actually give these guys a bit of a sense of trust or
Mm,
understanding into the fact that their brains work in a certain way. It's just not the
mm.
same. It's not as similar as everyone else, but if they actually put their head into something, it's probably because it's working better in certain ways than other people as well.
Indeed, yeah, indeed. And one thing I know about dyslexia is the fact that I know that people with dyslexia is that their thought process is a lot different in comparison to the average human being. So they see
Emotionally,
things,
practically,
yeah,
comprehensively, yeah.
like it's completely different in comparison to just the regular average human being. Like the way they process things is so much different than just like say me and you. So
Now,
as you said, you felt as though Richard Branson had taken that into advantage. Like it played to his advantage, and as we can see, it did. The way in which he controlled, the way in which he managed to handle, was it the loss of his? He took a huge hit on Virgin Records. He took a loss on that, and he did cry. But he told himself he's going back into the music business, and now he's found Virgin Radio, and it's become a success for him. He's branched into so many different avenues, and every single avenue is bringing him back dividends, making him money, and just not to be honest, the money's going towards that his separate island that he's got. So he's a happy man
and
at the moment.
yeah, and mind you, this island, he basically calls the shots on what the laws are there as well.
I
So
mean, after all, if you're rich enough, you can do whatever you like.
so Richard basically doesn't pay tax there.
I'm not even surprised.
Yeah, it's
uh,
nuts because he basically probably just exports or pays himself there. Or
yep.
I am not too sure in terms of the technicals, but
Yeah.
I did watch another video today in the morning on TikTok on how he doesn't pay taxes, and I mean, it's not having that value, that having that net worth or the money.
Mm, mm,
What you need is a financial advisor, and if you have a good financial or legal advisor,
mm.
they're basically going to guide you into ways that you can preserve that money
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
make sure that you're well looked after or taken care of in the long run.
Indeed. Yeah.
So now talking about his sports achievements, he's basically, he's famous for breaking the Atlantic, crossing in the Virgin Atlantic Challenger. The first crossing by hot air balloon on the Atlantic and Pacific. He was knighted in 1999 for his
Yeah.
contribution to entrepreneurship, and he landed number 261 on the Forbes World's Billionaires list. This is when he was worth $2.5 billion in his self-made fortune. This estimate was including his 2 private islands. So that's a pretty cool story. To start off, consider where he started off, and then consider where he is now.
Yeah.
It's quite a bit. So
Indeed, it is. Indeed, it's very much quite a bit. And as you can see, he has achieved so many milestones, milestones above milestones above milestones. He's just. It's like when he achieves one goal, he's already got 3 others lined up, ready to go and achieve next. He's like, okay, cool, I've done this. Now to look in this direction. Let's go over here. And yeah, like as you can see, he's touched on so many different routes in life, which have all gone full circle and retracted straight back to the first point. And that's him who had the idea of being an entrepreneur and wanting to sell an item in order to make money back, So
that's how they work, right? I watched this. I don't know if you've seen it, but Matthew McConaughey, he won a Grammy, if I'm not mistaken, once. And at his speech, he talks about how someone asked him what his goal in life was, and he didn't really know what to say. But what he said was he wanted to be himself in 10 years. And then if that particular person came again to him in 10 years and asked him the same question, he would have given the same answer, and over and over again. So the takeaway from this is that people like this, it's not just the numbers, it's not the money that they're actually after. It's making the impact. Because if you make a significant impact and you're smart about it, you will have the money chase you. I was listening to this other podcast earlier today in the morning on Lewis Howes. He is also a serial entrepreneur. Used to be an athlete, and now he is running a couple of businesses. He talks about how when you're looking to earn money, it's firstly a mindset shift. You might think you need all the money, but there's a whole process to it. If you chase it, it's gonna run away from you. If you money is a language. He says that money is a language, and if you're looking at earning money, you need to understand how people in places where you want to be, how you need to understand how they look at money. So what's important is to listen to podcasts, watch people, get as close to people as you can, in terms of understanding, people that are already where you want to be, right? You need to hang around with them, understand how they spend their money, and basically just, eventually, just like I said about the B conversation, you're going to be a product of your environment.
Of course.
You look at people like I said, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos. Majority of people, once they hit the number 1 spot on that list, what they would do is, what they dream of doing is just hitting that spot and then just chilling, right? But for these people, like I said, it's nothing to do with the number. It's basically to come to a point where they want to, basically where they want to, what's the word? Make a bigger impact.
Exactly. So literally, as you've already said, make a bigger impact with these types of people, and what they are doing is literally impacting people's lives, and they're changing people's lives, and as you can see, making them better, offering the experience of a lifetime. Again, is it James Sinfield? I'm sorry, but I have to bring up 250k again, but it's huge money. But in retrospect, 250 grand in order to be able to, achieve a once in a lifetime experience that you can never get anywhere else, I could say it's understandable, especially if it's going to drop down to 40,000. At least that drops from the price of a house down to a car, so I don't mind.
Yeah,
But
that's when you and I are getting our tickets to go to space. I don't think
oh
I'll spend more
yes,
than that.
oh yes, oh
It's gonna
yes,
get
oh yes,
properly commercialized, but then they might have like
oh
daily
yeah,
flights. But
of
yeah,
course,
I
of
still
course. Like the amount of saving, I'd probably have to save up for maybe like 4 years or so. See how I feel before I can fly out.
see, the thing is, again, I read this other book on how on I think it's called Rich. Yeah, it's called Rich Dad Poor Dad, right?
Yeah.
Now, just the final takeaway for the show just before we head out for the day. But what a majority of people do is, you should check the book out. By the way, it's by Robert Kiyosaki. Amazing
Mm.
perspective shift to money and mindset, or on growth mindset, right? He talks about how majority of people, once they look at a price, the
Yeah.
first thing that they're going to think is, I can't afford that. But
Mm.
what actual people, how the mindset is different with people that actually can afford that is when they come to a point of, it's not just affording something, it's a point of where they visualize themselves in a certain amount of time, or in terms of investing their skill set, or
Mm.
improving in general. They, instead of asking themselves or telling themselves that they can't do that, they ask themselves how they can get there.
Mm.
So yeah, it's just a mindset that you start with, your thoughts, you then watch your words, you basically change your habits, and then your habits are, basically a domino effect on who you are as a
Mm.
person. So
Mm.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I think, this whole conversation, again, coming to just wrap the show with you about what Richard Branson, how he's basically inspired, you and I, and I'd say millions of people over the weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think this is an amazing story, and yeah, but I mean, we can basically break it down further. If people want to, if you guys basically listening in, if everyone wants to basically talk more about Richard Branson, more about maybe Jeff Bezos next time, we can
Yeah.
break the stories up. Feel free to join in on the show. We go live from 12 to 1. That's the buzz on Relax Radio. So
Indeed.
feel free to tune in on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. That's right. You can call us up on 07852473473. Hit us message, hit us up with a message, comment down on these videos, share these videos with everyone that would feel like they could learn something from it. And we'll see you back tomorrow. This is Tim and Kings logging out for the Good afternoon.